For years, Bed Bath & Beyond trained shoppers to do one small piece of math before they left home. Check the drawer, find the blue coupon, then go to the store. The coupon looked simple. 20% off. A reason to buy towels, a coffee maker, a set of sheets, a trash can, a shower curtain, or one of those small household things nobody thinks about until the exact day they need it. But the coupon was doing more than lowering a price. It told customers what kind of store Bed Bath & Beyond was. It told them the trip had a rhythm. You did not have to be loyal in a deep emotional way. You only had to remember that the coupon made the errand feel smarter. That is why the coupon is the doorway into the story. It is also why the coupon is not enough to explain the collapse. Bed Bath & Beyond did not lose only a discount strategy. It lost the customer ritual that made the discount make sense. At the start of the 2020s, this was still a large retailer. In its fiscal 2020 filing, Bed Bath & Beyond said it operated 1,020 stores. It described a customer base of about 37 million and said 1 in 5 homes in the United States was a Bed Bath & Beyond home. That is a strange kind of strength. It means the brand was familiar, useful, and ordinary. People knew the store, they knew the aisles, they knew the big blue coupon. The company itself still listed those coupons as part of its marketing mix in later filings, alongside circulars, catalogs, print, and digital media. The question is, what happens when a retailer tries to change the reason customers understand it? The easy version says, Bed Bath & Beyond trained shoppers to wait for discounts, then got trapped by its own coupon. There is some truth in the danger of a discount habit. Coupons reduce the price paid by the customer. The company accounted for point-of-sale coupons and rebates as reductions of sales, but that explanation is too small. A coupon-heavy retailer can still work if customers trust the store behind the coupon. The shelf has to feel worth browsing. The brands have to feel familiar enough. The item has to be in stock. The trip has to feel better than searching online and waiting for a box. The coupon was a promise. The business still had to support the promise. Bed Bath & Beyond was under real pressure before the final collapse. It faced online competition, shifting shopping habits, COVID disruption, a large store base, and the basic problem of making a home goods chain feel current when customers had more choices than ever. So the company tried to remake itself. In fiscal 2020, it described a more disciplined pricing strategy meant to make promotions more effective and reduce ineffective promotional activity. That sounds reasonable. A retailer cannot hand out margin forever with no plan. It also planned store closures, digital improvements, and changes to how the chain would serve customers across stores and online. Then, in fiscal 2021, the transformation became more visible on the shelf. Bed Bath & Beyond launched 8 new owned brands across categories like bed, bath, kitchen food prep, home organization, and indoor decor. Owned brands can be powerful. Retailers like them because they can create margin, control, and a clearer point of view. Customers can like them too if the products earn trust. The risk was timing and recognition. Bed Bath & Beyond customers already had a mental map. They did not walk in only for an abstract home goods concept. They walked in with a coupon, an errand, and an expectation of what the shelves would feel like. When the assortment changes too quickly, the customer has to learn the store again. That is a bigger request than it sounds. The company was trying to make the store more curated and more modern, but the old shopping habit was still doing a lot of the work. If a customer came in expecting the old treasure hunt and found a different mix of unfamiliar labels, the coupon could start to feel less like a reward and more like a reminder. A reminder that the store used to be easier to understand. The filings show that the transformation carried cost. In fiscal 2021, Bed Bath & Beyond reported transformation expenses tied mainly to the shift toward owned brand merchandise. Those expenses included cost of sales charges, markdowns, and inventory adjustments. It also reported restructuring and other transformation expenses. During the same fiscal year, the company repurchased about $574.9 million of common stock under repurchase programs. Since 2004, It reported about $11.685 billion of cumulative share repurchases. That number should be handled carefully. A share repurchase program is not a single cause explanation for bankruptcy. Companies make capital choices under specific conditions, and the later collapse had many moving parts. But the timing matters as context. Bed Bath & Beyond was spending money to change the company, closing stores, changing the product mix, trying to manage promotions, and returning capital through buybacks during the period before cash and supplier confidence became central problems. The customer saw the story in a simpler way. The store felt different. The coupon was still there, but the trip was changing underneath it. By June 2022, the strategy had entered a new phase. Bed Bath & Beyond announced that Mark Tritton had ceased serving as president and CEO. Sue Gove became interim CEO, and merchandising leadership changed. 2 months later, the company announced a back-to-basics plan. That phrase matters because it admits what the old customer already felt. The chain needed to return towards something recognizable. The August 2022 update said the company would bring back popular national brands, introduce emerging direct-to-consumer brands, exit one-third of its owned brands, and reduce the breadth and depth of the remaining owned brand inventory. It also announced more than $500 million of new financing commitments, about 150 lower-producing Bed Bath & Beyond store closures, and a reduction in force of about 20% across corporate and supply chain. That was a turnaround plan. It was also a map of how much had to be repaired at once: brands, stores, staff, suppliers, costs, inventory, traffic. A retailer can announce those changes in one press release. It cannot rebuild the customer habit in one press release. This is the part of the story where the coupon becomes useful again, not as the cause, but as the diagnostic tool. Imagine the customer walking in with the blue coupon. If the aisle is full, the coupon feels like a game. The customer finds the item, applies the discount, and leaves with a small win. If the aisle is confusing, the coupon has to work harder. If the aisle is missing the brands the customer expected, it has to work harder again. If the shelf is thin, the coupon stops feeling like a game. It starts feeling like a piece of paper asking the customer to trust a trip that no longer pays off. By early 2023, Bed Bath & Beyond was saying the quiet part in financial language. On January 5, 2023, the company said it expected third-quarter fiscal 2022 net sales of about $1.259 billion, compared with $1.878 billion a year earlier. It pointed to lower customer traffic and reduced inventory availability among the factors. It also expected a net loss of about $385.8 million for the quarter, including about $100 million of impairment charges. Then came the sentence that turns finance into shelf reality. The company said reduced credit limits had resulted in lower levels of in-stock presentation within the assortments customers expected. Reduced credit limits sound abstract. In a store, that can become the missing product. The customer does not see a credit line. The customer sees the empty space where the thing should have been. On January 10, 2023, the company reported third-quarter net sales of $1.259 billion, down 33%. Comparable sales declined 32%. Sales performance was driven by an in-stock position of approximately 70% and lower customer traffic. That does not mean 70% out of stock. It means the in-stock position was about 70%. The exact wording matters because the accurate number is already severe enough. A home goods store can survive a weak coupon. It has a harder time surviving a weak reason to visit. When shoppers stop believing the trip will work, traffic falls. When traffic falls, sales fall. When sales fall, cash pressure grows. When cash pressure grows, suppliers and lenders get more cautious. When suppliers and lenders get more cautious, inventory availability can suffer. When inventory availability suffers, the next customer trip gets worse. That loop is brutal because every piece makes the next piece harder to fix. The company was also trying to build loyalty in the middle of the repair. Welcome rewards grew quickly, and the January 2023 results said membership had passed 16 million. But a loyalty program cannot carry the store if the shelf is losing credibility. Loyalty points are only useful if the customer still trusts the trip. By fiscal 2022, the annual picture was stark. Bed Bath & Beyond reported net sales of $5.34 billion, down about 32.1% from fiscal 2021. Comparable sales declined about 29.7%. The company said the sales decline came from lower customer demand, lower traffic and conversion, store closures, and inventory availability. It also named the specific shelf problem: lack of inventory availability and assortment in key product areas, including the owned brand and national brand mix. It said vendor constraints and credit line decreases contributed to those assortment and inventory problems. That is the failure engine in the company's own record. The issue was not that customers forgot the coupon. The issue was that the coupon no longer guaranteed the old feeling of the store. Fiscal 2022 ended with about $65.9 million in cash and cash equivalents. The company used $991.0 million of cash in operating activities during the year. It reported a net loss of $3.50 billion and an operating loss of $2.78 billion. Retail inventory at February 25, 2023 was about $817.6 million, down 52.6% from the prior year. The company said in-stock levels were lower than anticipated because of supplier constraints and vendor credit line decreases. There is a temptation to tell this as irony. A company famous for stacks of merchandise could no longer reliably fill the store. A company famous for coupons could no longer make the coupon feel like enough. But the useful lesson is not irony. It is sequence. First, the old customer ritual did too much work. Then the company tried to change the products and promotions that ritual depended on. Then it tried to reverse course while closing stores, cutting costs, rebuilding supplier support, and fighting for liquidity. Then the shelf itself started carrying the damage. By April 23, 2023, Bed Bath & Beyond and certain subsidiaries filed voluntary Chapter 11 petitions. They filed in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of New Jersey. The company said it was pursuing an orderly wind-down while conducting a limited sale process for some or all of its assets. At the filing, it said 360 Bed Bath & Beyond stores and 120 Bye Baby stores and websites would remain open. Closure efforts had begun. It also said it had secured a $240 million debtor-in-possession financing commitment to support operations during the Chapter 11 process. That detail is important because bankruptcy was not a single locked door on the filing date. It was a legal process to manage a wind-down and possible asset sales while the remaining stores kept operating for a time. But for the legacy operating company, the end was clear. In its fiscal 2022 Form 10-K, Bed Bath & Beyond said that, because of the Chapter 11 cases, it no longer had normal operations. What remained was the wind-down of its business and completion of the Chapter 11 process. The brand name would have an afterlife under new ownership. The old public company did not. So what was actually lost? The simple answer is stores. That is true, but incomplete. Another simple answer is coupons. That is visible, but also incomplete. The more useful answer is that Bed Bath & Beyond lost a customer behavior before it replaced the business system that supported it. A coupon is powerful only when it points to a store that still feels worth entering. For years, the blue coupon told shoppers, "You know what this place is." It turned ordinary home purchases into a small ritual. It made the errand feel planned, local, and a little smarter. Then the store underneath that ritual changed. The assortment shifted. The private label push asked customers to learn new shelves. The company tried to discipline promotions. Stores closed, costs were cut, suppliers had to be reassured, credit pressure reached the shelf, inventory availability fell, traffic declined. At each step, the coupon had less business underneath it. That is why blaming the coupon alone gets the story backward. The coupon did not make Bed Bath & Beyond meaningless. The coupon made the meaning easy to see. When the meaning was intact, the coupon was a ritual. When the meaning weakened, the coupon became evidence of what had been lost. This matters beyond Bed Bath & Beyond, because many retailers confuse a customer habit with a customer lock-in. A habit can look durable until the company changes the parts that made it easy. Customers may not be able to explain the system. They only know the trip no longer feels worth repeating. Maybe the product is missing, maybe the brand mix feels wrong, maybe the deal feels less useful, maybe the store feels like it is shrinking around them. Once that happens, the company has to sell the customer twice. First on the item, then on the reason to come back. Bed Bath & Beyond was trying to make that sale while its cash, inventory, stores, and suppliers were all under strain. That is a hard place to rebuild trust. The blue coupon survived in people's drawers because it was simple. The business behind it was not. It required merchandise people wanted, enough inventory to make the trip work, suppliers willing to ship, credit capacity to stock shelves, stores worth visiting, and a price memory customers understood. When those pieces moved together, the coupon felt like a bargain. When those pieces came apart, the coupon became a souvenir. That is the real warning in the Bed Bath & Beyond collapse. Do not weaken the ritual customers already understand until the replacement is real enough to carry them. A discount can bring someone through the door. It cannot make an empty shelf feel full. It cannot make an unfamiliar aisle feel trusted. It cannot repair a business system that no longer supports the promise printed on the paper.